Senator Ted Cruz made his endorsement of former President Trump official Tuesday night, just one day after the former president won the Iowa caucuses. I am proud to endorse Donald J. Trump for president. Now is the time for us to unite to oust Joe Biden and save our country from the Democrats' destructive agenda. Cruz wrote on X, formerly Twitter. To help us win this fight, please make a donation right now to support me and President Trump as we work together to defeat Joe Biden and save America. Make a strong statement with your support, he said alongside a link to donate to Trump's campaign. Cruz joined at least 23 other U.S. senators who have endorsed Trump in the GOP presidential primary. The Texas senator had endorsed Trump in his other two election bids in 2020 and 2016. Cruz backed Trump in 2016 after dropping his own presidential bid in the primaries that year. Trump had hurled personal insults at him throughout the campaign, insults that he later reportedly apologized for. Cruz has also recently defended Trump in his ongoing criminal cases, accusing Democrats of weaponizing the legal system. I know with most of these news stories, I read it, I give my opinion, and I will, but I want to just say this. Why is it that every endorsement almost starts to sound the same? I am proud to endorse this person. Like, well, we figured you would be. Uh, Now is the time for us to unite to oust Joe Biden and save our country from the Democrats' destructive agenda. I'd love to know what's destructive about it. Uh, and of course, they go out, trying to get some money from you. I was gonna say, Cruz, honestly, of any politician who started their career before Trump, he's probably the one who was the most negative, at least out of the Republicans, right? Was the most negatively impacted by him showing up, in the sense that I remember when Cruz first announced he was running for president back in March 2015, so it's like almost 9 years ago at this point. But I remember how there were articles that came out that talked about how he was going to try and like galvanize the South and make it a place where he could be competitive. He's a Texas senator, so there's a very good chance he could win his home state, which has a lot of delegates. And they were talking about pitting him against Jeb Bush and Scott Walker and the rest of these like more, you know, I guess supposed moderate Republicans, you can even call them that at that point. And then Trump came around, and at first he and Trump were really cordial to each other. But then as they became the main competitors for that primary, Trump attacked him in ways that I have not seen at least another Republican politician attacked him. Like, Trump calls people nicknames, right? Little Bob Corker, um, you know, Little Marco, whatever. But he called Cruz Lion Ted, but he insinuated that his wife was unattractive, uh, and tried to say that his dad knew Lee Harvey Oswald or was involved with the Kennedy assassination. Just really slimy, beyond the pale stuff. And a lot of people respected Cruz when he showed up at the convention, not kowtowing to him, not endorsing him. But then the donors slammed the door in Cruz's face, and he pivoted. And ever since 2016, 17, Cruz has been one of Trump's most loyal bootlickers imaginable. I mean, he went from someone who warned during the primary Trump might appoint liberal judges to completely kowtowing, and it's so much harder for him to get away with it than it is for a lot of the other Republicans like McConnell or something, because most of them were not insulted to the same degree as Cruz. But it really shows you that he's a guy who just has, like, he's ambitious, and he's like calculating, because that's why he stayed out of running this time around, because he figured that Trump's lead would just be too massive. But he's also someone who's really spineless, even in the face of like basic facts. You know, I said before, I would never want to be a Republican politician if I have to pretend, like literally pretend an election was stolen so that I don't upset the voters. Because Cruz is not stupid. He's a lawyer. He went to, Harvard and Yale. Or excuse me, I think it was Harvard and Princeton, my mistake. Might have even been all three. But my point is that this is someone who's clearly not dumb as far as the legality of things are concerned. So to have him pretend like the fake electors wasn't that big of a deal. You can do that, and then you should still be able to run for president and be president. You know, if Cruz had any semblance of a spine, he would say, listen, I've spent 8 years trying to deal with this guy. He insulted my wife and my dad, which, you know, he apparently apologized for. I appreciate, but I'm not going to sit here and pretend that an election was rigged because we didn't win. People lose elections all the time, and if you have some real damn proof, win some court cases, and then I'll back you. Cruz could easily come out and say that and have, at the very least, I don't think, even if Trump turned on him or insulted him, which again has already happened before, he would still be able to keep his Senate seat. But again, Cruz has no morals. He has no morals and no principles, and is just another slimy Weasley politician. He's smarter than a lot of the other ones, but he's someone who I think he's going to try to stay Texas senator for probably the rest of his life, or at least most of it, because he knows that's as good as it gets for him. A lot of people were talking about, like back before Trump won in 2016, oh, maybe Cruz can run again in 2020, or after that. But really, you've seen that, like, his whole thing of being that young kind of rebel spirit, that's been usurped by DeSantis. For a while, people were talking about Tom Cotton from Arkansas. Him and Rubio have really just faded away. And Rubio at least has, like, kind of tried to latch on to Central American issues to sort of make himself stay like a consistent force. Um, but Cruz really has nothing going for him. He's basically going to turn into a younger Lindsey Graham, where it's somebody that ran against Trump. They were talking all this trash about them, or otherwise, trying to distance themselves. And now it's just full throttle bootlicking. So he can sit there with his stupid podcast and his books that he writes every other year, and running for a third term in the Senate, even though he said he's opposed to senators having more than 2 terms. And that make sense. But this is as good as his career is going to get as a politician, and it's not because he's more extreme than the rest of them. He simply does not have any political courage whatsoever. If Trump came out tomorrow and said that the sky was orange, Cruz would say, I actually have looked at the genealogy. He could, because even a fact as basic as that, as long as Trump's the one who's disputing it, Cruz will sit there with his legal background and provide credence for. And that's truly one of the most dangerous things about American politicians. We get, like, we all have one. A lot of us have ones that we like, support, whatever. But when we get to a point where people are afraid to take a position against someone who has more supporters, they think their party is in favor of, that's really dangerous. And that's part of the reason why the U.S. is so broken. That you just have these careerist pricks who are not serious in any way about actually doing something. Cruz has been a senator now for 10 years. Can you name one law that he's affected or major legislation that he's passed? I can't name one. Because modern politics is not about actually helping people. It's about getting in office to raise your profile, enrich yourself, and then keep your position for as long as you can. That's why you'll never see Cruz criticize Trump at all, because he won't even take the risk of losing that Senate seat. That Senate seat means more to him than his wife and his dad, and I mean, I don't want to say his kids because Trump didn't insult them, but I wouldn't be surprised. So he's just, his endorsement just reminds me of everything that is wrong with these two men and with American elections in general.